My name is Renee Bradshaw. I'm the Director of Global Real Estate for Kirkland & Ellis, and I'm a past president of the Chicago chapter. And we are doing a series in the Chicago chapter called 15 Women, 15 Minutes. And I am fortunate enough to be with Collete English Dixon, a friend of mine who we're going to spend 15 minutes with. And welcome, Collete.
Thanks, Renee. Good to see you.
Collete is the executive director of the Marshall Bennett Institute of Real Estate at Roosevelt University. And that's just your current role today, but you wear many hats on many boards, and you have come up through the industry on the investment side of the business. So share with us a little bit about your path.
Well, thanks, Renee. I'm really glad to be here. So yeah, I've been in and around the commercial real estate industry my entire career. I kind of fell into it. And I think that for many of us who have been in the industry for a long time, that's probably the answer. I had no clue what this was going to be about. It was a break between undergrad and what I thought would be my path as a lawyer. I never did make it to law school, fell in love with this industry, and have, hung out in it for, I'd say, more than 3 decades, which is an amazing number for me to admit out loud. Really? This time has gone so fast. I spent most of my career, actually virtually all of my career, with one logo on my business card. I worked with Prudential, and I joined the firm when it was just an insurance company and was able to stay with it as it developed an investment management business and became a global investment management company. It was an incredible ride. And I did all sorts of things: asset management, finance, development, transactions on both sides. I bought, I sold. And when I decided to leave, which has now been 4 years ago, amazingly enough, it was because I wanted to try something new. And little did I know that finding something new was going to put me in academia, which is 180 degrees from my experience in the private sector business world. And I'm still trying to get used to it. It's been an interesting cycle.
Well, you've held leadership roles now on the business side and in academia, as you say. So what would you share with others in leadership in roles such as yours today, meaning, with some experience behind you in leading large teams? And then on the flip side, I'll ask you to give some advice to those at the beginning or at the dawn of their career.
Well, I wish I felt confident that my experience really made me an expert in talking about how to be a good leader. I think I've lucked out with many of the opportunities that have come my way. I mean, I worked hard and I tried very consistently to outperform, underpromise, overperform, overdeliver. And I think I did that most of the time. But one of the things that I believe has probably been one of the strongest characteristics of how I've tried to be a leader is to be authentic. And sometimes that was an interesting challenge, as you might imagine. Being a woman in this industry a few decades ago, being a Black woman in this industry a few decades ago, there was a lot of pressure to conform to what everybody else said you needed to do or be or act or say or, conduct yourself. And fortunately, I think my parents instilled an incredible sense of confidence in me as I am who I am. And it was really important for me to be authentic to that. And I think I was and have been most successful as a leader when I've been true to myself. And when I've tried to meet everybody else's expectations is when I tended to, I think, stumble in my ability to be a good leader and to provide the sort of engagement with my teams that I think actually leads to good outcomes. So I find that one piece probably makes up for a lot of other things. If you are who you are and you own it and you're honest about it, and that means owning your failures and accepting your successes, I think that teams actually respond to that well. And I think if I were younger, and looking at what would I do? How would I set myself up to be a leader? I think it's finding someone who can be a mentor to you and help you figure out the good ways to be a leader and the bad ways to be a leader. I didn't have a lot of mentors outside of my parents when I was starting my career, and I made a lot of mistakes because of that. And I think someone starting in their career and looking to grow into a leadership position, be it in any sort of platform, private business, academia, not-for-profits, whatever that's going to be, that it's important to identify people you admire and to have them mentor you, even if it's informal. It doesn't have to be a big formal thing. I think most leaders and most experienced people are flattered when someone says, could you be my mentor? I'd love to learn from you. And I think you need to take advantage of those opportunities. And I think that those will really help avoid some of the unnecessary mistakes that many of us have made in our careers because we didn't have it. And also potentially help you identify skills and strengths that you have that can make you an even stronger leader as you move ahead in your career.
Was there any one moment for you that in the moment was a real stumbling block, or what you would consider, a mistake, but it actually wound up fueling your own success or moving you forward?
A mistake. God, I made so many of them. Let's see, was there one that I really felt did it for me? Or I think, let's talk about stumbling blocks, because I think stumbling blocks are right. I think those are maybe a little bit easier to understand. When I moved to Chicago, and I started my career in Atlanta right out of undergrad, and I was there for a little bit more than 10 years. And then I had an opportunity to move to Chicago, to move from the disposition side of our business to the new investment side, and walked into the Midwest with no idea of who, what, when, where. I mean, I'd been to Chicago a few times, didn't really mean anything to me. I was raised in the Midwest, but that was Cleveland. It was not Chicago. I walked in with a reasonable amount of expectations for performance. I struggled with trying to find my space here. It was such a different environment, with such a different business climate. I walked in with I'm with Prudential and you should love me sort of thing. And the world was like, not really. So tell me why. You have to prove yourself. And trying to figure out what that meant, and recognizing that it was really important for me to deliver on what I said I could deliver on, to continue that authenticity of being very clear and very honest about the limitations and the opportunities that we could meet, to listen more so than talk, were things I had to learn when I got here. I had to understand the dynamic with that. And I believe that having some really great contacts, many of whom I developed through Crew Chicago, which when I came to Chicago was the group of senior real estate women in the city, to be able to engage with them and to learn from them and make contacts through them, I learned a ton. And it really helped me position myself as a credible capital source, a credible industry person, so that opportunities could come our way and then help me achieve my goals on the business side. So there was a lot of learning with that. And the block of trying to create that relationship with the marketplace took some time. But I think overall, I learned a ton about how to be successful in this climate and successful in this role. And I think it really helped pretty much set up what became the rest of my career here. And so it was an interesting time.
I liked what you said about listening, because I just saw the streaming of Hamilton with the original cast. I'd seen the show,
Yes.
But it reminds me of one of the favorite lines of that show, which is "Talk less, smile more."
Yeah, but the part that I really don't think I'm really a big fan of, which ultimately, as we all know, led to one of the big rifts there, is don't let them know what you're for.
Which goes against your authenticity rule.
It goes against the authenticity. And but yet I do agree that sometimes you can talk too much.
Well, this is pretty fascinating. And so as we sit here in this moment of COVID,
yeah.
And it's given us all time to look at our careers and our work through a different lens. And for those of us that have been able to take a moment here and there, look at our lives maybe through a different lens. Is there anything that has been insightful to you about your own self or your own career, or maybe your family life that actually has come, and maybe is a good thing that has come out of this time that we've been isolated?
This has been a crazy 4.5 months, hasn't it? I mean, it's just like, whoa, what happened? I think I've been really impressed by the need for considering how fortunate so many of us are and the sort of lives that we've been able to create, even with whatever challenges there are out there. While we were getting bored, it was like, yeah, at least I can be bored at home. I have shelter, I have food, I have my family around me, I feel safe. This whole time really reinforced to me how many people are not in that position, and that we have an opportunity to learn from this, that there are needs in this world, in this country, that we need to figure out how to address better. But from, on the lighter side, it's been really fun to kind of figure out how long I could go without getting my nails done, getting my hair cut, and how much time I actually can spend inside with my family. It's been, I love these guys, but we've been empty nesters for a while, and we're not right now, and haven't been since mid-March. And it's been a fun experience to kind of be back together and really enjoy that space. But I also think that people have learned how important person-to-person connectivity is. Zoom has been a wonderful tool. And oh, by the way, did I even know Zoom existed about a year ago? Not really. But it has transformed communication. But it hasn't replaced in-person connections.
I agree
and
completely.
I think that is something that many of us are really missing. Well, it's great to see you, Renee.
Likewise.
It would have been fun to do this across a table, right?
Definitely. And we look forward to those days when we are back together. It turns out, real estate, the entire underpinnings is really to give you a place. And what do we do in that place? But we interact and we're social. So it's an interesting time for all of us who work in a very social industry.
Very much so. Those relationships are important.
As we look at the clock and try to be true to our 15 minutes, I'm going to close with something you and I talked about. And it is what I find to be a really inspirational quote from Melinda Gates in her book, The Moment of Lift. And I think it applies across a wide spectrum. But Melinda writes, "More than at any time in the past, we have the knowledge and the energy and the moral insight to crack the patterns of history. We need the help of every advocate now."
And she wrote that before COVID-19.
Before.
Okay. She wrote that in a totally different time and space. And to think about how applicable that is on so many levels of the things that we've seen happen over the past 6 months, and even leading into 2020. And I believe that this space we're in, and what we know and what we're willing to talk about now to create a different path on climate change or social equity and injustice, all the disparities and breaks that we're seeing in the social network, and I'd say the safety net that we have in the world and in this country we now know a lot more and are paying a lot more attention. And so I'm really excited about where we can go from here. I love that quote, and it's just amazing how right on time it is.
Very timely. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thanks,
And I do look forward to the next time, breaking bread across a real table and not the virtual Zoom.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for asking me. Take care.
Thank you, Collete. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So.